IDF Chief Gadi Eisenkot says the Iran deal holds many risks, but also opportunities for Israel. Pakistan's Prime Minister visits Saudi Arabia and Iran to calm tensions in an effort to safeguard economic ties with both countries. World #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic downplays match fixing in tennis, but admits he was offered $200,000 to lose a match. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us at I24 News. I'm Benjamin Chong-Alfalis. IDF Chief Gadi Eisenkot at the Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv said, quote, "There is no doubt that the accord between Iran and the West is a turning point." Noting Iran's $1 billion a year support of Hezbollah, Eisenkot said the IDF is doing a reassessment of how the lifting of sanctions will affect that relationship. Our diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev reported from the conference.
In sharp contrast to the pessimistic warnings we've been hearing from the Israeli leadership and the political establishment in the past few days, we hear quite a different tone from the IDF Chief of Staff, Gadi Eisenkot, regarding the Iran deal, which reached implementation day on Saturday. Speaking here at the Institute of National Security Studies at their annual conference, Eisenkot says that the Iran deal is a strategic turn point for what has been the IDF's main threat in the past decade. He says it has many dangers, but also possibilities. According to Eisenkot, the IDF assumption is that in the next 5 years, Iran will be making an effort to abide by the deal because it has much to gain. While in a longer range, in the next 15 years, Iran will continue covertly to develop a nuclear weapon because it hasn't abandoned its basic aspiration to have a nuclear weapon. But Eisenkot does say that the non-conventional threat on Israel in the next 3 to 5 years will be decreasing following the Iran deal. He says it rolls back Iran's nuclear capabilities and increases significantly the monitoring abilities of the international community. So Eisenkot does see some positive aspects in the Iran deal, as we said, in a sharp contrast to what we hear from the Israeli Prime Minister and many of his political counterparts.
Daphne Meir, the 38-year-old nurse and mother of 6 who was brutally stabbed to death by a suspected Palestinian terrorist in her home in Otniel in the West Bank on Sunday night, was laid to rest today in Jerusalem. The funeral was attended by various politicians, including opposition leader Isaac Herzog, Education Minister Naftali Bennett, and Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked. She leaves behind her husband and 6 children aged 4 to 17, including 2 foster children. She worked as a nurse in the neurosurgery department at Beersheba's Soraka Medical Center and as a premarital counselor for new brides. Well, terrorism strikes in Tekoa in the West Bank, south of Jerusalem, where a pregnant Israeli woman in her 30s who was stabbed multiple times in the chest is fighting for her life. The Palestinian terrorist was shot and taken to the hospital with moderate injuries. We were joined on the phone earlier by Yoni Yagadovsky, spokesperson from the Israeli Emergency Medical Services, about this morning's attack.
The woman was stabbed in the upper part of her body. She was treated by our paramedics and emergency medical technicians at the scene and was evacuated to the Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center in Jerusalem. They described her medical condition as moderate to severe after receiving the treatment at the scene.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif left for a short visit to Saudi Arabia and Iran today to help bridge the growing divide between the two countries after the Sunni kingdom executed a Shiite cleric. Islamabad has sought to avoid taking sides in the escalating dispute between Saudi Arabia and its main regional rival Iran, as it wrestles with its own sectarian tensions at home and hopes to bolster economic ties with both countries. We were joined on the phone by I24 News correspondent Mohammed Al-Qasim with more details.
Pakistan is trying to play an honest broker in this dilemma that it's facing, despite the fact that Islamabad is considered one of Saudi Arabia's major allies in the Islamic world. Islamabad does not want to take any sides here because it has a lot riding on its relationship between the two countries. Islamabad, Pakistan, with the visit to Riyadh today, its prime minister is trying to convince the two countries, the two major countries in the region, maybe to reconsider cutting diplomatic ties and use Pakistan's weight in the good relation between Iran and Saudi Arabia, maybe to close the gap between the two countries. And now that Iran is joining the international world after lifting sanctions on it yesterday, maybe this will be an opportunity maybe to bring these two countries together. He's going to try, among many other leaders that have been trying in the last week or so.
We turn now to the Americans freed in the prisoner swap with Iran, as 3 of them will soon be reunited with their family following years in the Islamic Republic's notorious prisons. ABC News has more.
This morning, the Americans who spent so long as prisoners in Iran, now freed and reunited with family at the U.S. military base in Landstuhl, Germany. They're getting much-needed medical treatment before eventually coming back home to America. Their first stop out of Iran was Geneva, where Washington Post reporter Jason Rezaian was greeted by the U.S. official who helped negotiate his release after being detained for more than a year and a half on charges of espionage. Also on that flight out of Iran, Amir Hekmati, the former Marine held for more than 4 years at the notorious Evin prison. His sister and brother-in-law were all smiles on their way to meet him. And Pastor Saeed Abedini, imprisoned and away from family for 3.5 years.
I told my kids, I woke him up and I said, Daddy's released from prison. You're going to see him soon.
At the White House, President Obama celebrated the long overdue release.
They never gave in and they never gave up. At long last, they can stand tall and breathe deep the fresh air of freedom.
In exchange for their freedom, the Obama administration agreed to release 7 Iranians who had been charged with violating U.S. sanctions and to drop international arrest warrants for 14 others. The administration also agreed to pay $1.7 billion to settle an old financial dispute with the Iranian government.
Over now to sports, as world number 1 Novak Djokovic has claimed he was once indirectly offered $200,000 to lose a first-round match in the St. Petersburg Open in Russia, but said he does not believe match fixing is an issue at the top of the sport. The BBC on Monday said it could reveal secret files exposing evidence of widespread match fixing at the top level of world tennis, including at Wimbledon. I24 News report Tamara Ziv has more.
Tennis authorities vigorously denied suppressing match-fixing claims on Monday after a bombshell report alleging widespread corruption cast a shadow over the start of the Australian Open. The BBC and BuzzFeed reported that a core group of 16 players who reached the top 50 in the past decade, including Grand Slam title winners, had repeatedly aroused suspicion but never faced action. The report said the Tennis Integrity Unit, set up to police illegal activities in the sport, either failed to act on information that identified suspicious behaviour amongst players or to impose any sanctions. All of the players, including winners of Grand Slam titles, were allowed to continue competing, while 8 were playing in the Australian Open, the media reports added. The claims, citing a leaked cache of secret files, broke as the year's first Grand Slam got underway in Melbourne and prompted a swift response from tennis officials.
The Tennis Integrity Unit and the tennis authorities absolutely reject any suggestion that evidence of match fixing has been suppressed for any reason or isn't being thoroughly investigated. And while the BBC and BuzzFeed reports mainly refer to events from about 10 years ago, we will investigate any new information, and we always do.
The report also created a stir among players at the tennis championships at Melbourne Park, with some expressing surprise at the allegations.
Not that I'm aware of. When I'm playing, I can only answer for me. I play very hard, and every player that I play seems to play hard. And I think that, we go, as an athlete, I do everything I can to be not only great, but, historic. And, if that's going on, I don't know about it. I'm kind of sometimes in a little bit of a bubble.
Tennis officials have fought a long-running battle with match fixing as well as spot fixing, which is where individual sets are thrown to manipulate live betting odds.
That's all from us for now. Join us again in 20 minutes for more. In the meantime, of course, online. Thank you for watching.